Now, what sort of factors affect the sleep stages and the sleep cycle in general? Well, there are a whole range of sleep disorders that affect the quality, duration and onset of sleep. One of those is called sleep apnea, where people snore and often don't get enough oxygen, so it wakes them up very suddenly, and can be quite dangerous in some people. Sleep apnea is a treatable condition which can be quite serious. Stages are affected by sleep deprivation, frequently changing sleep schedules. That's why we have jet lag. People that are flying and going through different time zones feel really bad because they're not getting the normal sleep cycles that they would be used to. And certainly stress and the environment can also impact on our sleep patterns. As do psychological conditions such as depression, anxiety, and general stress can keep us awake for short periods of time. Depression can affect that for very long periods of time. And as I mentioned, age can be a factor. We need less sleep at different times. Now, we've all heard the term insomnia, but there are different types of insomnia. Some people have initial insomnia where they just find it really difficult to fall asleep, and then when they do, they go into a deep sleep. Other people wake up in the middle of the night, they feel sleepy and fall asleep quickly, but then wake up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and feel wide awake again. Other people sleep from early morning insomnia, that is, they wake up at 4 o'clock and then can't get back to sleep. This obviously has big ramifications for them on a day-to-day basis and creates a whole range of symptoms such as sleepiness throughout the day, general fatigue and feeling like they haven't got enough energy. It really impacts on their alertness and their ability to concentrate on issues they're doing during that day, and that obviously has implications for doing work and particularly on safety. People who haven't had enough sleep tend to make worse decisions, take longer to make decisions, and overall their performance has decreased. And they often feel like they have muscle aches and feel more agitated and more emotional as a result. Now, temporary insomnia affects all of us at various times, and that can be brought on by temporary psychological factors such as stress, but also psychiatric factors such as clinical depression and anxiety, and medical factors. If we're in pain, then that will obviously impact on our ability to sleep, and other illnesses as well. Our diet can impact on our ability to sleep, and that can be eating the wrong foods too soon before going to bed, or generally our diet. Certainly medications can also impact on our circadian rhythms, and jet lag is one of those. However, chronic insomnia is much more serious because some people get into very bad sleep patterns and then find it quite difficult to get out of those. And this may require more intense therapy and even medical and pharmacological treatment as a result. Some factors which lead to insomnia are poor sleep hygiene. By that we mean getting into bad sleep patterns and worrying about issues, going to bed and thinking about all the work that we've got to do the next day, or some big project that we've got to do at work and wondering how we can do that. So negative thoughts of any kind, worrying about financial issues or worrying about one of our children, whatever it might be, that can stop us from sleeping, and then that can become a pattern if that's what we do every night. Obviously being ill, not being ourselves physically, can lead to insomnia. And the long-term use of sleep medication is a catch-22 situation. We find it hard to sleep, so we rely on medication, and then once we start that, stopping it is very difficult, and if we don't take the medication, then the insomnia is often worse. Please be aware that the taking of any medications and ceasing medication use must always be done under the direction of a qualified medical practitioner, because it can have quite disastrous effects even on our mood, and can cause us to lapse into depression if not done correctly. I mentioned the term circadian rhythms earlier on, and this is very closely related to the day-night cycle and sunlight. The body is synchronized to the change in between darkness and lightness, and there is a small part of our brain that's known as the circadian clock, and it monitors the amount of light you see moment by moment and triggers changes as a result of that in brainwave activity. It decides what your brain wants, when your brain wants to sleep, and when it gets dark you want to sleep, and when there's bright light, then it wakes you up. That's why it's very important, if you're flying, that when you get to your destination, even though you may feel like it's time to go to bed, you should really actually go outside into the daylight, so that it resets your circadian clock to the time zone that you're in. You shouldn't go to sleep because you're tired. You should go to sleep when it gets dark. So that's the key to dealing with jet lag. Easily said, but often difficult to do. So you should try and keep yourself awake until it gets dark and then go to sleep, so that your clock gets reset. Now, your body functions such as heart rate and blood pressure, temperature, your digestion activity and brainwave activity all fluctuate over a 24-hour period under the guidance of your circadian clock and the circadian rhythms that it sets. So this is very important, because it upsets every aspect of your working day. Circadian rhythms greatly influence the timing, the amount and the quality of sleep we get. So paying attention to them is very important. Body temperature reaches the lowest level in the early hours of the morning, between midnight and 4 AM, and this also assists our ability to sleep. It, however, rises through the day, which makes it more difficult to fall asleep. This is why night workers who try to fall asleep at 8 AM often find it difficult. So it's linked to body temperature very closely. When the day-night cycle of body temperature cycle are no longer in sync with each other, we have an internal dysynchronization. So some shift workers are greatly disturbed by this internal desynchronization, and others experience only mild symptoms, but they're important factors. So shift work, or having hours of work which are not regular, can put people at a greater risk of various disorders, certainly of having accidents and other misfortunes. They're more likely to have increased obesity as a result, being overweight, an increased risk of cardiovascular disease, higher risk of mood changes and even leading to depression, increased risk of gastrointestinal problems such as constipation and stomach discomfort, a higher risk of motor vehicle accidents and other work-related accidents and using machinery of any kind, because it impacts on our ability to concentrate and focus on what we're doing. And this can also lead to a whole range of personal issues and difficulties in relating to our families, a lack of being able to understand our families' needs, and not being sensitive to their concerns is often caused by sleep irregularities.